Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 2. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnu Pada Paramahansa Paribrajakacha Jastotara Sata Shri Sri Madhaisi Bhaktivedanta Swami Shira Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Sila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 2. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmalamidam Vishame Samupaishtitam Anarya Justam Asvargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmalamidam Vishame Samupaishtitam Anarya Justam Asvargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmalamidam Vishame Samupaishtitam Anarya Justam Asvargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna Sri Bhagavan Uvacha The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Kuta, where from? Twa, unto you. Kashmalam, dirtiness. Idam, this lamentation. Vishame, this hour of crisis. Samupaishtitam, arrived. Anarya, persons who do not know the value of life. Jushtam, practiced by. Asvargyam, that which does not lead to higher planets. Akirti, infamy. Karam, the cause of. Arjuna, O Arjuna. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The Supreme Person Bhagavan said, My dear Arjuna, how have these impurities come upon you? They are not at all befitting a man who knows the progressive values of life. They do not lead to higher planets, but to infamy. Purport. Krishna and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are identical. Therefore, Lord Krishna is referred to as Bhagavan. Although throughout the Gita, Bhagavan is the ultimate in the absolute truth. Absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding, namely Brahman, the impersonal all-pervasive spirit, Paramatma, the localized aspect of the Supreme within the heart of all living entities, and Bhagavan, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this conception of the absolute truth is explained thus: Vadanti tat tattvasvidas tattva yagyanam avyayam brahmeti paramatmeti Bhagavan iti shabdyate. The absolute truth is realized in three phases of understanding, but they're knower of the absolute truth, and all of them are identical. Such phases of the absolute truth are expressed as Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11. These three divine aspects can be explained by the example of the sun, which is also has three different aspects, namely the sunshine, the sun's surface, and the sun planet itself. One who studies the sunshine only is the preliminary student. One who understands the sun's surface is further advanced, and one who can enter into the sun planet is the highest. Ordinary students who are satisfied by simply understanding the sunshine, its universal pervasiveness, and the glaring effulgence of its impersonal nature, may be compared to those who can realize only the Brahman effulgence of the absolute truth. The student who has advanced still further can know the sun disk, which is compared to knowledge of the Paramatma feature of the absolute truth. And the student who can enter into the heart of the sun planet is compared to those who realize the personal features of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Therefore, the Bhaktas, or the Transcendentalists, who have realized the Bhagavan feature of the Absolute Truth, are the topmost Transcendentalists. Although all students who are engaged in the study of the Absolute Truth are engaged in the same subject matter, the sunshine, the sun disk, and the inner affairs of the sun planet cannot be separated from one another. And yet the students of the three different phases are not in the same category. The Sanskrit word Bhagavan is explained by the great authority Parasara Muni, the father of Vyasadeva. The Supreme Personality who possesses all riches, all strength, all fame, all beauty, all knowledge, and all renunciation is called Bhagavan. Because there are many persons who are very rich, very powerful, very beautiful, very famous, very learned, and very much detached, but no one can claim that he possesses all riches, all strength, etc. entirely. Only Krishna can claim this because he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No living entity, including Brahma, Lord Shiva, or Narayan, can possess opulences as fully as Krishna. Therefore, it is concluded in the Brahma Samhita by Lord Brahma himself that the Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No one is equal to or above him. He is the primeval Lord or Bhagavan, known as Govinda, and is the supreme cause of all causes. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchit Ananda Vigraha, Anadi Radhi Govinda, Sarvakarana Karanam. There are many personalities possessing the qualities of Bhagavan, but Krishna is the supreme because no one can excel him. He is the supreme person and his body is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. He is the primeval Lord Govinda and the cause of all causes. Brahma Samhita 5.1. In the Bhagavatam also, there is a list of many incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but Krishna is described as the original personality of Godhead, from whom many, many incarnations and personalities of Godhead expand. Ete cham sakala pumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam Indrari Vyakulam Loke Mridayante Yuga Yuga. All the lists of the incarnations of Godhead submitted herewith are either plenary expansions or parts of the plenary expansions of the Supreme Godhead. But Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Bhagavatam 1.3.28. Therefore, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, the source of both the Supersoul and the impersonal Brahman. In the presence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna's lamentation for his kinsman is certainly unbecoming, and therefore Krishna expresses his surprise with the word kutas, wherefrom such unmanly sentiments were never expected from a person belonging to the civilized class of men known as the Aryans. The word Aryan is applicable to persons who know the value of life and have a civilization based on spiritual realization. Persons who are led by the material conception of life do not know that the aim of life is the realization of the absolute truth, Vishnu or Bhagavan, and they are captivated by the external features of the material world, and therefore they do not know what liberation is. Persons who have no knowledge of liberation from material bondage are called non-Aryans. Although Arjuna was a Kshatriya, he was deviating from his prescribed duties by declining to fight. This act of cowardice is described as befitting the non-Aryans. Such deviation from the duty does not help one in the progress of spiritual life, nor does it even give one the opportunity to become famous in this world. Lord Krishna did not approve of the so-called compassion of Arjuna for his kinsman. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kutastva Kashmalam Vidam Vishame Samupaishtitam Anarya Justam Asvargyam Akirtikaram Arjuna. So we are continuing to give Gita classes on the important verses that Prabhupada quoted during his preaching and his writing. And this is one of the most important verses of the second chapter. First of all, the verse begins with Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. You'll notice in the Bhagavad Gita that whenever somebody speaks, his name is given. Dhritarashtra Uvacha, Sanjaya Uvacha, Arjuna Uvacha. So when Krishna speaks, it follows convention that it should also say Krishna Uvacha, but no, it says Bhagavan Uvacha, because Krishna is different from all the other speakers of the Bhagavad Gita. If we don't accept Krishna as the supreme teacher, as the supreme Lord, then the purpose of Gita is not so important. Then it becomes just another book, and it loses its power to give us an understanding of what is our goal of life. The whole purpose of the Gita is spoken by Krishna to teach us what is our relationship with him. Obviously, we all have a father. We have a grandfather. We have a great-grandfather. Ultimately, we have a creator behind us, somebody who created us, somebody who is the origin of who we are. And that origin is Krishna. And the purpose of life is to understand that the human body that we get is meant for us to hear about our relationship with Krishna. Living in a material world and being conditioned by the material body, it is like somebody suffering from amnesia. When somebody suffers from amnesia, he forgets his origin. He may be lying in the street like a bum with no opportunity, no money, no progressive ideas, but somebody who knows that person who's lying in the street can go to him and say, my dear person, you're lying here as a beggar, yet your father is very rich, your father is very powerful, but you've forgotten him. So please come with me and I'll take you back to your father, and then your life will become progressive. So in the same way, we are simply rotting in a material world. We think we are so rich and so powerful, and we follow very assiduously the path of material prosperity. We think that the more we achieve, the more of the material energy we control or we collect, then the happier we'll be. But actually, that doesn't answer the question of who are we originally. Look, the animals also try to get as much of the material energy as they can. According to their capacity, they compete with one another to get better facilities for material enjoyment, for sense enjoyment. So the human beings, if they live like the animals, then what is the point? If the human beings simply compete with each other to acquire more material facilities for sense enjoyment, if they forget what is the purpose of human life, then the human life becomes insignificant. It becomes unnecessary, and they will lose it. Animals, they cannot understand that the purpose of life is to understand what is their relationship with God. Animals are living entities who are going through the process of evolution. Not evolution of the body, but evolution of their consciousness. As the animals come from bacteria to fish life, to reptile, to birds, to trees, to plants, to birds, to insects, to beasts, and ultimately to human beings, there is a progressive evolution of consciousness. That is changing all the time. The body is already there. And according to the consciousness of the living entity, he acquires body after body. But when he comes to the human form of life, when he has progressed through the millions and millions of births as animals, and he comes to the human form of life, he is given an opportunity to understand what is his relationship with God. And to facilitate this opportunity, Krishna has designed the human society into varnas and ashramas, or into castes and spiritual positions, so that when one is born in a human body, from the beginning of his birth, he has an opportunity, he lives in a society which understands that now that you've come to the human life, this is what you have to do. You have to understand that you're a spirit soul. You have to understand that you have an eternal relationship with God. You have to understand that this opportunity is very brief. Maximum you will live for 100 years. But in this 100 years, you can actually understand who you are, what you are. And if you do that, you will not take another material birth. You will not lose the opportunity to progress. Krishna says that even if you make a little progress on the genuine path of spiritual life, that is never lost. Neha bikrama nasho asti. In this endeavor, abhikram, krama, in this endeavor of understanding who we are, nasho asti, there is no loss. Pratyavayo cha vidyate, Krishna says. There is also no diminution. Alpa asya dharmasya, even if you make a little progress in this life, trayate mahato bayat, you become freed from taking another material birth, losing your human form. Why is that? That because when we have knowledge of spirit, that knowledge applies to the soul and it is never lost. What determines a person's position in life, whether he's advanced or not advanced, is how far he is or she is in understanding his or her spiritual nature. And that understanding, if you achieve some of that understanding, then the natural consequences is that you want to know more. The reason that many people like myself and many of my God brothers and God sisters, the reason we became attracted to the Krishna consciousness movement, the reason we became attracted to Prabhupada is because he gave us an opportunity to understand our spiritual life. He simply said, my dear boys and girls, if you chant the name of God, if you lead a pious life, if you try to control your senses, but not eating meat, but not gambling, but not enjoying sex life outside marriage, by not indulging in intoxication. In other words, if you control your body, and at the same time you call out to Krishna for his protection and his understanding, then he will give you a connection. That was Prabhupada's job. He was able to connect us to Krishna because he had Krishna. Krishna say tomara, Krishna dite para, tomara shakati ache. My dear Prabhupada, Krishna is yours. You can give me Krishna. You have that power. Amito Kangala, Krishna Krishna Boli. So by chanting, we were simply running after Prabhupada, chanting Krishna Krishna. And that way, our spiritual life began. And that progress that we make, even if we don't completely become successful in this life, because we have an idea that this is my spiritual path, that this is the way I want to go, if we die with that idea, with that desire that I want to continue my spirituality, I want to continue on the spiritual path, even though I may be obsessed by material life, even though I may be having so many material problems, so many difficulties may be there, still I want to go in this direction, then material nature, by the mercy of Krishna, will give us the opportunity. Whereas if we come to the moment of death and we don't understand the importance of going on the spiritual path, if we come to the moment of death thinking that my job is to enjoy my senses, now I got so much sense enjoyment in this life, I acquired so much property, so much power, so much family, so let me continue. When I come to the moment of death, if I'm attached to these temporary things, but I want to continue the sense enjoyment, then I will get another material body. And because sense enjoyment can be had in animal life, I will lose my human life and I will take an animal birth. Why will I take an animal birth? Because I don't need a human birth to enjoy my senses. There are many animals who have full sense enjoyment, even to a higher degree than human beings. And when we lose the human form of life, and because of our consciousness, we fall down into animal life, then we have to again begin the process of going through evolution until we come back, until again this opportunity is given to us to understand our spiritual identity. Therefore, Krishna says, Neha brikrama nasho asti, there is no loss in this path. Swalpam api asya dharmasya, even if you make a little progress, trayate mahato bayat, you become free from all fear. And this idea that we have this path was given to us by Prabhupada with this very simple solution: chant Hare Krishna and follow the regulative principles. If you do those two things, I guarantee you will never lose sight of the goal of life. And Krishna will, within your heart, give you the intelligence on how to come back to him. When I was first studying the Bhagavad Gita, I very quickly realized that some of these things that Krishna speaks in the Gita are very sublime, very, very important. So right away, I wanted to memorize some of the important verses. And the first verse I memorized is the 10th verse of the 10th chapter, where Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajate pritipurvakam. To one who worships me with love and devotion, dadami buddhi yogam tam. To him, tam, dadami, I will give buddhi yoga. Buddhi yoga means intelligence, which can connect you through yoga. Buddhi is intelligence, and yoga is connection. Intelligence will connect you to me. Dadami, I will give buddhi yogam tam, yena mam upayantite, through which he will achieve me. So I thought this was a wonderful verse. I thought this is such a wonderful promise from Krishna, that he is saying, you simply worship me with devotion, and I will give you the intelligence to come to me. Krishna will do the rest. But you have to worship Krishna with devotion. Satata yuktanam. Satata means you have to worship Krishna continuously, not worshiping sometime and then worship your senses sometime. No, continually. Satata means always. And yuktana means that you use everything that comes into your possession in a spirit of devotion. That if you get money, you use it for Krishna. If you get a wife, you try to make her Krishna conscious. If you have children, you train them to be devotees of Krishna from their birth. If you have property, if you have intelligence, if you have talents, use all these talents for the pleasure of Krishna. And if you follow the principles correctly, the 4 principles, no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, if you actually follow strictly and you chant 16 rounds a day, then you become qualified to use your talents for the pleasure of Krishna, and it will not be contaminated by self-interest. Many people come to Krishna consciousness to fulfill their self-interest. Oh, I'm such a great singer. Let me sing for Krishna. But actually, he's singing for his own pleasure. He is singing to become famous, to become glorified by his wonderful talent, by his wonderful voice. Or he becomes an actor, or he becomes a lecturer, or he becomes knowledgeable. All these things can be used in Krishna's service only if you actually practice the principles of spiritual life. Satata yuktanam. If you use these talents, but at the same time, you're very fixed in controlling your senses. As I've spoken before, I'm an old man. I've been in Krishna consciousness almost 50 years. And most of those 50 years in the leadership position. So I've counseled and helped many, many other devotees, many young devotees who came to Krishna consciousness. And believe me, whenever there is a problem, if you dig deep enough, at the bottom of the problem is there'll be no chanting our rounds, or we're making offenses while we're chanting, and we are not following the regulative principles. But if you follow the principles and chant your rounds, not only Krishna guarantees, Srila Prabhupada guarantees. Krishna may guarantee, but Krishna, he can change his mind. Krishna, he can cheat sometimes. So he told Arjuna, Konteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. My dear Konteya, my dear Arjuna, son of Kunti, pratijani, you describe it very boldly that mad bhaktana pranashyati, my devotee will never perish. Because when a devotee promises, then Krishna feels obliged to maintain the word of his devotee. Krishna himself, he may tell a lie, or he may not act according to our rigid understanding of dharma or spirituality, but Krishna is God. Krishna, he is the one, whatever he says is dharma. He can break the rules. Why? Because he has the power that even if he breaks the rule, that rule breaking becomes spiritualized, becomes attractive, becomes a quality of Krishna. Because Krishna, he may break the rules, but he breaks the rules for the pleasure of his devotee. So he is known as Bhakta Vatsal. Krishna is Bhakta Vatsala. He is the lover of the devotee. He is the protector of the devotee. And to protect and love his devotee, he may even break the rules. So, if we can understand this, then we can easily make progress in spiritual life. Thank you very much. So we have Atma Vidya with us tonight. He offers his humble obeisances to the assembled Vaishnavas. Haribol Prabhu, Dandavats. Anna Maria Monchada, Hare Krishna. My obeisances to the devotees, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Dol Barbi, Namaste. Rob Illings, Dandavat Pranam. And Krishna Premavati Devi Dasi, Hare Krishna. So from now on, the Gita class will be given on this page, my own Facebook, Ananda Swarup Facebook page. And after the lecture, it will be posted on the ISKCON Amsterdam page as well, so you can go back and listen to it. If you have any comments, please feel free to type in your comments, and then I will deal with them later on. Thank you very much, and all glories to Srila Prabhupada.